Dear student, today we will take 8th lecture for PH 3501 Modern Physics syllabus. This is my 8th lecture of PH 3501. Okay. In the previous lecture, we have studied the phase integral and its application. We have obtained the energy of a particle moving in the one-dimensional box. Then we have obtained the energy of simple harmonic oscillator. Okay. Then we have studied the elliptical orbit of electron. Okay, using the Sommerfeld model. So today we are going to study Bohr's correspondence principle. Bohr's correspondence principle. So today we will study Bohr's correspondence principle. What is the Bohr's correspondence principle? It is a principle. It is a principle which gives the coincidence. It is a principle which gives the coincidence between the quantum mechanical results and classical results. Means under which condition the quantum mechanical results of a system agrees or coincides with the results of classical mechanics, right? So under which condition quantum mechanical results of a system coincides or agrees with the classical mechanical results, okay, that is given by the Bohr's correspondence principle. As for example, for small quantum number, n, the prediction of quantum theory do not agree with the prediction of classical theory. So for small quantum number n, the results of quantum mechanics do not agree with the results of classical theory. Okay. But for higher quantum number, you can say n tends to infinite. In the limit of higher quantum number n tends to infinite, the results prediction of quantum theory agrees with the prediction of classical theory. That we will see by giving some examples. So for small quantum number n, the results of prediction of quantum theory do not coincide with the prediction of classical theory. Only for in the limit of higher quantum number n tends to infinite. If the quantum number n is very high, then the prediction or the results of quantum theory agrees or coincides with the results of classical theory, right? So Bohr correspondence principle is made up of two parts. So first of all, we write down the principle, then we will try to explain it. Okay. So as I told you that for small quantum number n, the results of quantum theory do not agree with the results of classical theory. Only for higher quantum number, in the limit of higher quantum number, the results of quantum theory and or prediction of quantum theory agrees or coincides with the prediction or results of classical theory. So Bohr correspondence principle consists of two parts. Bohr correspondence principle consists of two parts. So I am giving you the statement of Bohr's correspondence principle into two parts. The first part of Bohr's correspondence principle says that the predictions of quantum theory for the behavior of any physical system, predictions of quantum theory for the behavior of any physical system must coincide or agrees must agrees with the predictions of classical theory only in the limit of large quantum number. This n tends to infinity, right? So this is the first part of Bohr's correspondence principle, that the predictions of quantum theory for the behavior of any physical system, it is the system of electron or atom, okay, coincide with the prediction of classical theory only in the limit of very high large quantum number. So the prediction of the first part of Bohr's correspondence principle states that the predictions of quantum theory, the prediction of quantum theory for the behavior of any physical system coincides or agrees with the prediction of classical theory, not for small number quantum number, but only for large quantum number. So in the limit of very high large quantum number n tends to infinite, the prediction of quantum theory for the behavior of any physical system coincides or agrees with the prediction of classical theory. So the results of quantum theory and results of classical theory coincide or agrees with each other only in the limit of higher quantum number. For small quantum number, the prediction of quantum theory do not agree with the prediction of classical theory. But for large quantum number, the prediction of quantum theory agrees with the prediction or results of classical theory. We will see some example and we will explain that for small quantum number, the result of quantum theory do not agree with the results of classical theory. But for higher quantum number, okay, if you take n tends to infinite, the prediction or results of quantum theory agrees well or coincide with the results of classical theory only for higher quantum number. For small quantum number, the results of quantum theory do not agree with the results of classical theory, but they agree or coincide when quantum number n is very high. The second part of this principle is this. You have studied the selection rule. According to quantum mechanics, okay, only those transitions are possible for which the difference of quantum number is 1, right? Okay. You can prove the selection rule using quantum mechanics. Okay. Here you see we have proved the selection rule using quantum mechanics, that only those transitions are possible for which the difference of quantum number is 1. Means delta n is equal to 1. What is delta n? It is the difference of quantum number of upper level and lower level. If the quantum number of upper level is 2, quantum number of the lower level is 1. Okay. And the transition is taking place from level 1, lower level 1 to upper level 2. Then what is the difference of quantum number between upper level and lower level? 2 minus 1, that is 1. Okay. These transitions are allowed, but the transition from n is equal to 1 to n is equal to 3. What is the difference of quantum number? 3 minus 1, that is 2. So this transition is not allowed. Okay. So according to quantum mechanics, only those transitions are allowed for which the difference of quantum number is 1. Okay. The remaining transitions for which the difference of quantum number is 2, 3, 4 like that transitions are not allowed. Okay. So the second part of the Bohr correspondence principle states that any selection rule which is necessary to obtain delta n is plus 1. So any selection rule delta n is equal to 1, which is necessary to obtain coincidence. Coincidence in the limit of large quantum number. So the selection rule delta n is equal to plus 1, which is necessary to obtain coincidence in the limit of large quantum number, also hold for small quantum. Also hold for small quantum number. It means that the selection rule delta n is equal to plus 1 is true for large quantum number as well as for small quantum number. You can use the same selection rule. So the selection rule that only those transitions are possible for which the difference of quantum number between lower level and upper level is 1. This selection rule, which is necessary to obtain the coincidence in the limit of large quantum number, okay, this selection rule also holds for the small quantum number. So the selection rule delta n is plus 1, which is necessary to obtain coincidence in the limit of large quantum number. This selection rule delta n is plus 1, it is also holding for small quantum number also, right? Okay. Now we will give one or two examples so that you can understand that for small quantum number, the classical results and quantum results are not matching or not agree with each other. Only for higher quantum number, the results of quantum mechanics agrees or coincides with the results of classical. Okay, first example we take simple harmonic oscillator. Simple harmonic oscillator. Now, what classical mechanics says? According to classical theory, okay, energy of simple harmonic oscillation can take any value. Can take any value. Right? On the other hand, quantum mechanics says that quantum theory says that the energy of simple harmonic oscillator cannot take any value. The energy of simple harmonic oscillator is NhD. Right? We obtain the energy of simple harmonic oscillator using phase integral, and the energy of simple harmonic oscillator was Nh. So this is the difference. The classical theory, the result of classical theory and quantum theory are totally different. The classical mechanics says that the energy of simple harmonic oscillator can take any value, while quantum theory says that the energy of simple harmonic oscillator cannot take any arbitrary value. The energy of simple harmonic oscillator is discrete, and that is Nh. Okay. Now, according to classical theory, if a simple harmonic oscillator can take any value of energy, then the energy level diagram of simple harmonic oscillator will be continuous, like this. Okay. Continuous spectrum. Any value of energy is possible, so we get continuous spectrum of energy for simple harmonic oscillator according to classical theory. And the difference of energy between two energy level is zero. Because all the levels are very close to each other. This is a continuous spectrum of energy in which any value of energy is possible. So simple harmonic oscillator can oscillate with any value of energy, and simple harmonic oscillator can oscillate with any value of energy. Then the energy spectrum of simple harmonic oscillator is continuous. Any value of energy is possible. So the energy level difference between two energy levels of harmonic oscillator will be zero. Right. So this type of spectrum is called continuous spectrum, in which any value of energy is simple harmonic oscillator can oscillate with any value of energy, and so all the energy levels of harmonic oscillator are very close to each other, and energy level difference between two levels is zero. But what quantum mechanics says, according to quantum theory, the energy simple harmonic oscillator cannot oscillate with any value of energy. Oscillator can oscillate with the energy Nh. So if you take some energy levels, energy level 1. This is the energy level 1 of harmonic oscillator. Energy level 2. Suppose this is the energy level 1000. This is the energy level 1001. So here I have taken a small quantum number 1 and 2, and here I have taken a large quantum number 1000 and 1001. Okay. Now the energy of simple harmonic oscillator according to quantum theory is nhν. So in the ground state n is equal to 1, the energy of simple harmonic oscillator will be, if you put n is equal to 1, the energy of simple harmonic oscillator, the ground state is hν. In the energy level n is equal to, the energy of the simple harmonic oscillator will be 2h. In the ground state of harmonic oscillator n is equal to 1, the energy of the harmonic oscillator is hν. In the energy level n is equal to, the energy of the simple harmonic oscillator is 2h. The energy difference between these two levels is 2h minus hν, that is hν. Right? And this energy difference hν cannot be ignored, cannot be taken as 0, because in comparison to the value of energy, because in the level n is equal to, the energy of harmonic oscillator is hν. In the level n is equal to, the energy of the harmonic oscillator is 2hν. So energy level difference between level 1 and 2 is 2hν minus hν, that is hν, and this energy level difference cannot be ignored. So here we are getting discrete energy levels. This type of levels are called discrete energy levels. Discrete spectrum. So according to classical theory, harmonic oscillator can oscillate with any value of energy. So we get continuous spectrum of energy levels. Okay, and in quantum theory, according to quantum theory, the harmonic oscillator can oscillate with energy nhν. So harmonic oscillator cannot take any value of energy. Simple harmonic oscillator can oscillate with energy only nhν. Okay, so hν energy is possible, 2hν is possible. Okay, the infinity value of energy 1.5 hν is not. Here it is possible. Here hν energy is possible, 2hν is possible, but 1.5 hν energy is also possible. Here, according to quantum theory, the energy of the harmonic oscillator is nhν. So in the level 1, energy of oscillator is hν. Level 2, it is 2hν. But 1.5 hν energy is not possible. So this type of spectrum is called discrete spectrum, in which in between values of energy are not possible. Right? Here in between values of energy are possible. Okay. So in the level 1, the energy of the oscillator is hν. Level 2, it is 2hν. So energy level difference between level 2 and 1 is 2hν minus hν, that is hν, and this energy level difference is not 0. Means in quantum mechanics we are getting discrete energy levels, okay, where the spacing between two energy level is hν, which is not equal to 0, and here the spacing between two energy level is 0. So classical theory do not agree with the quantum theory for small quantum number. Now let us see in classical mechanics, according to classical theory, the energy level spacing between two levels is 0, because all three levels are very close to each other. So energy levels, the energy level difference between two levels is 0. According to quantum theory, the energy level difference between level 1 and 2 is hν, which is not equal to 0. So here in classical mechanics we get continuous spectrum, here we get discrete spectrum. So for small quantum number, the results of classical theory do not agree with the quantum theory, because here the energy level difference between two levels is 0, and here the energy level difference between two levels is not 0, it is hν. Now see, if we take large quantum number, then what will happen? Suppose I take quantum number 1000, then in the level n is equal to 1000, the energy of the simple harmonic oscillator will be 1000 hν. 1000 hν. If you put n is equal to 1000, then the energy of the simple harmonic oscillator in the level n is 1000 is 1000 hν. Okay. And in the upper level n plus 1, 1000 plus 1, that is 1001, the energy of the simple harmonic oscillator will be 1001 hν. Right? In the energy level n is equal to 1000, the energy of the harmonic oscillator is 1000 hν, and in the upper level n plus 1, 1000 plus 1, 1001, the energy of the oscillator is 1001 hν. If you find the energy level difference, between level 1001 and 1000, then energy level difference is equal to The energy of harmonic oscillator, energy of harmonic oscillator in the level 1001 is 1001 SNU minus energy of the harmonic in the level 1000 1000 SNU. So energy level difference between 1001 HNU minus 1000 SNU, that is HNU. Yes. Suppose I take the value of HNU as 1 electron volt, then in the 1000 level the energy of the harmonic oscillator will be 1000 electron volt. I am taking HNU as 1 electron volt. Okay. The energy of the oscillator in the level 1001 is 1000. 1 electron volt. I am taking HNU is equal to 1 electron volt. Right? Then the difference of energy between these two levels is 1 electron volt. Right? Now say here, okay, the energy of the oscillator in the level 1 is 1 electron volt. Energy of the oscillator in the level 2 is 2 electron volt. Energy level difference between level 1 and 2 is 1 electron volt. This 1 electron and 1 energy cannot be ignored, cannot be neglected compared to the small value of energy. But here, for large quantum number, okay, in the energy level and 1000 of harmonic oscillator, the energy of harmonic oscillator is 1000 HNU. Suppose it is 1000 electron volt. And in the upper level 1001, the energy of the oscillator is 1001 HNU. Suppose it is 1001 electron volt. Then in the energy level difference between level 1000 and 1001 is 1001 HNU minus 1000 HNU, that is HNU, or 1001 electron volt minus 1000 electron volt, that is 1 eV. This energy level difference can be ignored, can be neglected compared to the large value of energy. Here the value of energy is 1000 electron volt and 1001 electron. So compared to 1000 electron volt and 1001 electron volt energy, the energy level difference 1 electron volt is very small, so it can be taken as 0. If you take energy level difference as 0, then these two levels comes very close to each other like classical levels, right? So if you ignore this energy level difference, okay, then these two levels will be very close to each other, and the energy level separation between two levels is 0. Means quantum results coincides with the classical results, but not for small quantum number, only for higher quantum number. For small quantum number, the energy level difference cannot be ignored, so we have discrete energy levels. For higher quantum number, the energy level difference is 1001 HNU minus 1000 HNU, or 1001 eV minus 1000 eV, that is 1 eV, and this energy level difference is so very small compared to the large value of energy 1000 eV and 1000 eV. So this energy level difference can be ignored, can be taken as 0. And if you consider this energy level difference as 0, then these two levels, 1000 level and 1000 level, are very close to each other. Okay, and therefore the quantum mechanical discrete spectrum will be like a continuous spectrum of classical mechanics, because in classical mechanics the energy level difference is 0, and for large quantum number the energy level difference you can consider as 0. So your quantum theory agrees with the classical theory for higher quantum number. For small quantum number, okay, the quantum mechanical results and classical results are different, but for higher quantum number you can take this energy level difference as 0, and therefore energy levels are very close to each other like a continuous spectrum of classical theory. Okay, so that we mention here. Okay, so in classical theory we are getting a continuous spectrum because any value oscillator can take oscillator with any value of energy, so any value of energy is possible. So in classical mechanics the energy spectrum of harmonic oscillator is continuous. In quantum theory the energy of the oscillator is Nhν. Okay, so level 1 the energy of oscillator is Hν, level 2 is 2 Hν, level 1000 it is 1000 Hν, level 1000 it is 1001 Hν. So for small quantum number the energy level difference between two level is 1 eV, which cannot be ignored compared to a small value of energy. Okay, so for small quantum number energy levels are discrete. In classical energy levels are continuous. In quantum, for small quantum number energy levels are discrete. But for higher quantum number, in level 1000 the energy of the oscillator is 1000 Hν. Level 1001 it is 1001 Hν. Energy level difference between these two levels is 1001 Hν minus 1000 Hν. That Hν we have considered as 1 electron volt. This energy level difference is very small, can be taken as 0, right, compared to the large value of energy, because the energy of the oscillator is 1000 eV and 1001 eV, and so the energy level difference is only 1 eV. So this energy level difference between two higher level can be taken as 0. Okay, and if you consider this energy level difference as 0, then these two levels are very close to each other. Okay, and so your discrete spectrum will be like a continuous spectrum of classical mechanics. So for higher quantum number the results of quantum theory agrees with the results of classical theory. So that thing we mention here. The energy level difference. The energy level difference delta E can be ignored compared to large value of energy, compared to large value of energy, right? Because in the higher quantum number, in the level n is 1000, the energy of the oscillator is 1000 h, which is very large, and in the upper level 1001, the energy of the oscillator is 1001 h, and the energy level difference between level 1000 and 1001 is only h, 1001 h minus 1000 h. This energy level difference is very small compared to large value of energy 1000 eV and 1001 h. Okay, so the energy level difference between level 1000 and 1000 is Hu, which is very small, can be ignored, which is very small, can be neglected compared to large value of energy 1000 He or 1001. This fact shows that for n tends to infinite, means for higher quantum number, the quantum mechanical regions agrees with classical regions. So I given you an example of harmonic oscillator, that for small quantum number the results of classical theory and quantum theory are not matching, or they are not coinciding, they are not agreeing with each other. But in the limit of higher quantum number, the results of quantum theory agrees or coincide with the results of classical theory. I will give you another example which is very important, which gives the correspondence between the quantum frequency of the electron and classical frequency of the revolution of electron. Okay, so we will prove, the next example we will show that the classical frequency of electron and quantum frequency are same. Okay, for higher quantum number, the classical frequency and quantum frequency are same. That we will prove. So I give the second example. So according to quantum, first I give the statement, then I will prove it. According to correspondence principle, the quantum mechanical frequency must coincide with classical frequency in the limit of large quantum number. So in the second example, we will prove that according to Gauss correspondence principle, the quantum mechanical frequency coincide or becomes equal to the classical frequency of electron only in the limit of large quantum number. So let us prove this statement. So let us apply the correspondence principle to the hydrogen atom. We apply the correspondence principle to the hydrogen atom and we prove the quantum mechanical frequency will be equal to the classical frequency of electron only for large quantum. For small quantum number, quantum frequency and classical frequency are not same, but only in the limit of large quantum number, the quantum mechanical frequency coincide or becomes equal to the classical frequency of electron. Only for large quantum number, both the frequencies are same. So let us apply Bohr's correspondence principle. To hydrogen atom. You are very much familiar with hydrogen atom. So we take the example of hydrogen atom and let us apply the Bohr correspondence principle to hydrogen atom to prove that the quantum mechanical frequency coincide or becomes equal to the classical frequency of revolution of electron only for large quantum number. For small quantum number, quantum frequency and classical frequency are not same, but for large quantum number, the quantum mechanical frequency and classical frequency of the revolution of electron are same. Let us consider hydrogen atom. This is the nucleus of hydrogen atom. An electron is revolving around the nucleus of hydrogen atom in the orbit of radius r. The charge of this is a hydrogen atom. No, in hydrogen atom there is a single proton inside the nucleus, so charge of nucleus will be plus E. This is the electron, the charge of electron will be minus, right? So let us, this is a picture of hydrogen atom. The center of the hydrogen atom nucleus is, hydrogen nucleus is there, which consists one proton, so charge of hydrogen nuclei is plus E, because charge of one proton is plus E. An electron is revolving in a orbit of radius r, okay, the charge of electron will be minus. Okay. So V is the velocity of electron. V is the velocity of electron revolving in the orbit of radius r. So let V be the velocity of electron. Let V be the velocity of electron. V is the velocity of electron whose mass is m. Mass of the electron is m and charge of the electron is minus. Okay, so let V be the velocity of electron. Let V be the velocity of electron having mass m and charge e revolving in a Bohr orbit of radius r. Revolving in a Bohr orbit of radius r. So let us apply Bohr correspondence principle to hydrogen atom, in which let us consider electron having mass of electron is m and charge of electron is e, is revolving in a Bohr orbit of radius r with velocity v. So v is the velocity of electron revolving in a Bohr orbit of radius r. First we find out the classical frequency of this electron and then we find out the quantum frequency and show that both the frequencies are same, not for small quantum number but for higher quantum number. Okay. So in the first calculation we will find the classical frequency of electron revolving. In the first part we calculate the classical frequency of electron revolving in a orbit of radius r. Okay. Now you know the balance condition or condition of Stargate. You studied this thing in 12th standard very well. Okay. What is the balance condition? That centrifugal force What is centripetal force? mv square upon r. Centripetal force mv square upon r required for the orbital motion of electron around the nucleus is provided by Coulomb attractive force between nucleus and electron. What is the Coulomb force between nucleus and electron? That is Q1 Q2 upon r square. I am using CGS system, so value of Coulomb constant K is 1 in CGS. So I have written the Coulomb force as Q1 Q2 upon r square. So this is called the balance condition or stability condition. You have studied this in 11th class standard. That the centripetal force, because for circular motion centripetal force mv square upon r is always required. So centripetal force mv square upon r required for the orbital motion of electron around the nucleus is obtained, is provided by the Coulomb attractive force between nucleus and electron. What is the Coulomb attractive force between nucleus and electron? That is Q1 Q2 upon r square. So Coulomb attractive force Q1 Q2 upon r square between nucleus and electron provides the centripetal force mv square upon r for the orbital or circular motion of electron around the nucleus. Right? Okay. Now what is Q1? Q1 is the charge of nucleus, that is E. What is Q2? Charge of electron is also E. When you are writing the Coulomb force, okay, positive and negative sign is not required. But when you write the potential energy, the sign is required. And what is the distance between nucleus and electron? That is r square. Right? So you get the equation mv square upon r is equal to E square upon r square. Is it right? Okay, so balance condition or condition of stability of the electron is the centripetal force mv square upon r required for the orbital motion of electron around the hydrogen nucleus is the centripetal force is provided by, is obtained by, is provided by the Coulomb attractive force acting between nucleus and electron, that is Q1 Q2 upon r square. So this Coulomb attractive force Q1 Q2 upon r square acting between nucleus and electron provides a centripetal force mv square upon r for the orbital motion of electron. mv square upon r is equal to m is the mass of electron, v is the velocity of electron, r is the separation distance between nucleus and electron, q1 is the charge of nucleus, it is plus e because hydrogen has only one proton, charge of one proton is plus e, q2 is the charge of electron, it is minus e. We are not considering the sign upon r square, so mv square upon r is v square upon r square, right? So mv square upon r is equal to E square upon r square. You can cancel one r. One r is cancelled. Therefore, you will get mv square. I am taking this r on this side. Okay, mv square is equal to, you can get E square upon r. If you cancel one r from left side, right side, okay. If one r is cancelled, then you will get mv square is equal to E square upon r. So you get mv square into r is equal to E square. When r comes cancelled, you get mv square is E square upon r. So mv square r is equal to E square. This equation can be written as mvr into v is equal to E square. Right? Okay. mv square into r can be written as mvr into v is equal to E square. Now you know the Bohr's first postulate. According to Bohr's first postulate, you know that the angular momentum of electron, mv is the linear momentum and mvr is the angular momentum of electron, is always an integral multiple of h upon 2y. You have studied Bohr's postulate in 11th class standard that according to the Bohr's first postulate, electron cannot move in any orbit, arbitrary orbit. Electron can revolve only in those orbits in which the angular momentum mvr of the electron is an integral multiple of h upon 2pi. So according to Bohr's first postulate, electron can revolve only in those circular orbits around the hydrogen nucleus in which the angular momentum mvr of the electron is an integral multiple of h upon 2pi. So you can put mvr is equal to nh upon 2pi. So let us put mvr. According to Bohr's first postulate, the angular momentum of electron mvr is an integral multiple of h upon 2pi. So let us put mvr is equal to nh upon 2pi into v. So according to Bohr's first postulate, the angular momentum mvr of electron is an integral multiple of h upon 2pi. It is nh upon 2pi. So let us put mvr nh upon 2pi into v is v square. So we will get V is equal to 2 pi E square upon NH. 2 pi E square upon NH. Okay. You also studied the equation of radius of the circular orbit in Bohr model. Well standard. Please remember that equation. Okay. The radius of Bohr orbit. See, when you studied the Bohr model in 11th 12th standard, you have derived the equation of the radius of Bohr orbit. You also derived the equation of energy of the electron in a moving in a Bohr orbit. Okay, so you derived two equations: radius of Bohr orbit, or okay, you derived this equation in the Bohr atomic model, and you also derived the equation of radius of Bohr orbit as well as you derived the equation of energy, the Bohr atomic model in 11th standard. Okay, now you remember the equation. What is the radius of the Bohr orbit? The radius of the Bohr orbit is given by this equation: n square h square upon 4 pi square n square. Please remember this equation. This the radius of the Bohr orbit R is given by equation n square h square upon 4 pi square n square. If you go through your 11th 12th textbook, you will find this equation that radius of Bohr orbit R is given by n square h square upon 4 pi square n square. Okay, now let us find out the classical frequency of the revolution of electron. Let us find out the classical frequency of revolution of electron. Next, okay, you know that velocity is defined as the distance upon time. Very simple equation. Velocity of electron is defined as distance upon time. When electron makes one rotation, what is the distance traveled by the electron? 2 pi r. 2 pi r. And the time taken to complete one revolution about the nucleus is called periodic time, 2 pi r, right? This is the equation which you know very well. Velocity of the revolving electron V is defined by the distance traveled by the electron when it completes one rotation. The distance traveled by the electron is 2 pi r, and the time taken to travel 2 pi r distance in completing one rotation is called periodic time. Okay, so V is equal to 2 pi r. Okay, what is this? 1 upon T is called frequency. This is called classical frequency. Right? This is equal to 2 pi r, and this 1 upon T is called the classical frequency of the oscillator. That we want to find out. Right? Sorry, classical frequency of the electron. So from this equation, the classical frequency of the oscillator, electron, is V upon 2 pi r. V upon 2 pi r. Right? You know the equation that the velocity of electron V is defined as distance traveled by the electron when it completes one rotation is 2 pi r upon the periodic time of the electron is T. So velocity of electron is defined by distance traveled by the electron when it completes one rotation. The distance traveled by the electron is 2 pi r, and the time taken to complete one rotation is T. So V is equal to 2 pi r by T. 1 upon T is called F. So V is equal to 2 pi r into F. This F is called the classical frequency of the revolution of electron. So classical frequency of the revolution of electron is V upon 2 pi r. Let us calculate. In this equation, we will put the value of V and R. Right? Putting values of V and R. Putting values of V and R in this equation, we will get classical frequency of the electron. So classical frequency is equal to, yes, what is the equation? Velocity we have derived 2 pi square upon nh. So let us put the value of velocity V is 2 pi e square upon nh. 2 pi square upon nh. So velocity of the revolution of electron, the velocity of electron is 2 pi square upon nh. Upon 2 pi I am writing as it is r. R is the radius of Bohr orbit. The radius of Bohr orbit is given by which equation? N square s square, L square s square. I am putting the value of radius. Radius of Bohr orbit is given by N square s square. 4 pi square m square will go in numerator. 4 pi square m square equal to numerator. Right? So I substituted the values of v and r. I am getting the classical frequency of the revolution of electrons. So a classical is equal to this. Now see, this 2 pi is going to be cancelled. 2 pi is going to be cancelled. Then we will get 4 pi square. 4 pi square m square upon n cube h cube. So this is the classical frequency of the revolution or rotation of the electron about the hydrogen nucleus. Okay. Now if you multiply this equation with C, and divide with C, so let us multiply this equation, classical frequency with C and divide with C, we will get yes, we can write this as 2 pi square m raised to 4. 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon CH cube into 2c upon n. See this 4 I have divided into two parts. 2 into 2 will be 4. Pi square as it is, m square, right? 2 into c, right, upon n cube h cube. That is ch cube upon n cube. So 4. Yeah, I think this is e square into e square. This will be e raised to 4. Actually here in the equation e square into e square will be e raised to 4. So this 4 I have written into 2, but 2 into 2 will be 4 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube. Okay, and here it is 2c upon n cube. What is it? No, what is 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube? This 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube is the Rydberg constant R. This is called the Rydberg constant R, and substitute this infinite. Why we are putting infinite as a subscript? Because when we have studied the Bohr atomic model, we have considered the mass of the nucleus as infinite. When we study the Bohr atomic model, we have assumed the mass of the nucleus is infinite. That is why Rydberg constant is there in R infinite. So this 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube is called the Rydberg constant R infinite. Therefore, classical frequency of the revolution or rotation of electron about the hydrogen nucleus is, yes, is 2 c. This 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube is the Rydberg constant R infinite divided by n cube. So this is the classical frequency of the rotation of the revolution of electron in a hydrogen atom. So when I write the classical frequency here, classical frequency is equal to 2. This magnetic vector 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube is the Rydberg constant R infinite into c upon n cube. So this is the classical frequency of the electron revolving in a Bohr orbit or radius r. And finally, we calculate the quantum frequency, and we show that for higher quantum number, classical and quantum frequency will be same. Okay, now second step, we calculate the quantum mechanical frequency. We denote it by nu quantum, and we will show that classical frequency and quantum frequency are same only for higher quantum numbers. For small quantum number, classical frequency and quantum frequency are not same, but only for higher quantum number, classical and quantum frequency will be same. Okay. So let us calculate the quantum mechanical frequency. For that, we consider two energy levels of the electron. Okay, this is the upper energy level, right? Upper energy level, in which the quantum number of the level is Ni. Okay, this is the lower energy level. Okay, so this is the ith level, which is the upper energy level, this is the ith energy level. in which the quantum number representing the upper level is Ni, and this is the lower energy level of electron, right? This is the kth level in which the quantum number representing the lower level is Nk. Suppose I take the lower level as N, then upper level will be N plus 1. Right? Suppose this is level 1, then this is level 2. This is level 3, then this is level 4. So if I assume the lower energy level of electron Nk is N, then upper energy level of the electron will be Ni, that is N plus 1. Okay. You know the energy because I told you that in Bell standard, we have studied the Bohr atomic model, and in Bohr atomic model, okay, we have derived two equations: the radius of the Bohr orbit, okay, in which the electron is revolving about the nucleus, and second equation we have derived, that is the equation of energy. Okay. If you remember that equation, then energy of equation is given by minus 2 pi square Ne raised to 4 upon S square 1 upon N square. So this is the equation of energy which we have derived in 11th class standard, right? The energy equation is minus 2 pi square Ne raised to 4 upon S square 1 upon N square. So what is the energy of electron in the upper level I? Right? The energy of the electron in the upper level I will be Ei is equal to minus 2 pi square Ne raised to 4 upon S square 1 upon the quantum number of the upper level is Ni. So instead of N square I write 1 upon Ni square. So this is the energy of electron in the upper energy level. Ni is minus 2 pi square Ne raised to 4 upon S square 1 upon Ni square. And the energy of electron in the lower energy level K is Ek is equal to minus 2 pi square Ne raised to 4 upon S square 1 upon Nk square. So this is energy expression which you have studied in 11th semester. Please, I request you to go through the textbook of 11th 12th. Okay, and please go through the Bohr atomic model and see the equation of radius of Bohr orbit and see the equation of energy of electron revolving in the Bohr orbit. N orbit is minus 2 pi square Ne raised to 4 upon S square 1 upon N square. Okay, N is the mass of electron, is the charge of electron, N is the quantum number specifying the orbit, right? So the energy of electron in the upper energy level Ni is minus 2 pi square Ne raised to 4 upon S square 1 upon N square. And energy of the electron in the lower energy level Nk is Ek, that is minus 2 pi square Ne raised to 4 upon S square 1 upon Nk square. Okay, now you know very well when electron makes a transition from higher energy level to lower energy level. When electron makes a transition from higher energy level to lower energy level, okay, the difference of energy Ei minus Ek is equal to h nu, and a radiation of frequency nu is emitted. Radiation of frequency nu is emitted. This is second postulate. Okay, what is the first postulate? Bohr's first postulate, that electron can revolve only in those orbits. Electron can revolve only on those orbits in which the angular momentum of electron is an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. So according to Bohr's first postulate, electron can revolve only in those circular orbits in which the angular momentum of the electron mbr is an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. And second postulate says that when electron makes a transition from upper energy level Ei to lower energy level Ek, the difference of energy Ei minus Ek is h nu, and it will emit the radiation of frequency nu. This nu is called the quantum mechanical frequency of the radiation, right? So according to our second postulate, when electron makes a transition from upper energy level, higher energy level Ei to lower energy level Ek, the difference of energy Ei minus Ek is equal to h nu, and a radiation of frequency nu is emitted. This nu is called the quantum mechanical frequency. We will show that this quantum mechanical frequency nu and its partial frequency f will remain same for higher quantum. So according to Bohr's second postulate, when electron makes a transition from higher energy level Ei to lower energy level Ek, the difference change in energy A minus CP is always equal to H nu, and it will emit the radiation of frequency nu. This nu is called the quantum negativity. Let us put the values of EI and EK. Okay. So H nu is equal to, yes, what is EI? EI is the energy of electron in the higher energy level, that is minus 2 pi square m e raised to 4 upon s square 1 upon ni square. Minus. So EI is the energy of electron in the upper or higher energy level, and it is minus 2 pi square m e raised to 4. The energy of electron in the upper or higher energy level, and it is 2 pi square m e raised to 4 upon s square 1 upon ni square. Minus EK. What is EK? EK is the energy of electron, energy of electron in the lower energy level, NK, that is minus. So minus will be plus 2 pi square m e raised to 4 upon s square 1 upon nk square. So minus EK is the energy of electron in the lower energy level, NK, that is minus plus 2 pi square m e raised to 4 upon s square 1 upon nk square. Okay. So we will get H nu is equal to, this is a common term, 2 pi square m e raised to 4 upon s square into bracket 1 upon nk square minus 1 upon ni square. 2 pi square m e raised to 4 upon s square is a common factor. We have 1 upon nk square minus 1 upon ni square. What is nk? It is the quantum number of lower energy level. We have two energy levels. Okay. The upper energy level is Ni, quantum number Ni is n plus 1, and lower energy level the quantum number Nk is n. Here the energy was Ei, here the energy was Ek. So what is Nk here? Nk is the quantum number of lower energy level of the electron, which is n, and Nk, Ni is the energy quantum number of the upper higher energy level. It is the energy of the electron is K. So Nk is the quantum number of lower energy level, which is n, and Ni is the quantum number of higher energy level, which is n plus 1. Okay. So nu is equal to, I take this as on this side. So quantum frequency nu is equal to quantum frequency is equal to 2 pi square m e raised to 4 upon h. I'm taking here, so h into s square will be h cube. H into s square will be h cube, right? 1 upon nk square two pi square m raised to 4 h into s square will be h cube 1 upon nk square minus 1 upon ni square. Okay. I multiply this equation with c here and divide by c. So let us multiply with c and divide with c. Okay. Now you know very well what is this term 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube. What is this term 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube is nothing but the Rydberg constant R infinity. So quantum frequency is equal to, yes, this 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube is the Rydberg constant R infinity into c. Okay. I take ni square into nk square LCM. So I will be having ni square minus nk square. Is it right? This 2 pi square m raised to 4 upon ch cube is the Rydberg constant R infinite into c. This ni square into L and nk square I'm taking LCM. So here I have ni square minus nk square. So quantum mechanical frequency is equal to R infinite into c. Okay. This ni square nk square are taken as LCM what is ni square minus nk square? You know, a square minus b square is a minus b, a plus b. Similarly, ni square minus nk square is nothing but ni minus nk, ni plus nk. You know, a square minus b square is a minus b, a plus b. Similarly, ni square minus nk square is defined as ni minus nk into ni plus nk. So this is the quantum mechanical frequency. Now let us take nk is equal to n and n is equal to n plus 1. So the difference of quantum number delta n is n plus 1 minus n, that is 1. This is the selection rule, right? So let us take the lower energy level nk, quantum number of the lower energy level nk is n, and quantum number of the upper energy level is n plus 1. I substitute these values in this equation. So quantum mechanical frequency is equal to R infinite into C, right? Ni is the quantum number of the higher energy level, is n plus 1. So I put ni is equal to n plus 1 minus nk is the quantum number of the lower energy level, is n. So I am assuming lower level is n and upper level is n plus 1. So difference of quantum number is 1. If you take this level as 2, then this level will be 3. 3 minus 2 will be 1. Okay. Here ni, what is the value of ni? N plus 1, n plus 1 plus nk is equal to n. So here I have put ni is equal to n plus 1. Let us put ni is equal to n plus 1. That is the upper orbit, upper energy level, and lower energy level quantum number nk is n. Upon ni means n plus 1 square, nk means n square, right? So quantum mechanical frequency is equal to R infinite into C. Okay, this n is cancelled. This n plus n will be 2n plus 1 upon n square, n plus 1 square. Okay, so we are getting the quantum mechanical frequency R infinite into C. This n is cancelled. So n plus n, 2n plus 1 upon n plus 1 square into n square. Okay. Now, if we take large value of n, we are considering this transition. We are considering the transition of the electron between the upper level n plus 1 and lower level n. Let us consider the transition of electron between the upper energy level n plus 1 and lower level n. If the upper level is n plus 1, lower level is n, then difference of quantum number is 1. Right? So let us consider the transition of electron between the upper level n plus 1 and lower level n. The difference of quantum number between the upper level and lower level is 1. Okay? Then the quantum mechanical frequency is, okay, so for large value of n. See, now I am writing this quantum mechanical frequency for large quantum number. So for large value of n, particularly you can say n tends to infinite, right? The quantum mechanical frequency becomes R infinite into C. Okay. Now when n is very large, you can neglect this one. Okay? Because suppose the value of n is 10,000, when compared to 10,000, value of n 1 is ignored. Here also, if n is 10,000, this one can be neglected, right? So if n is very large, in the limit of highly excited state, when the value of quantum number n is very large and tends to infinite, then in numerator compared to large value of n, this one term can be neglected, and in denominator compared to large value of n, this one term can be neglected. So now we are left with 2n upon n square into n square will be n raised to 4, right? For large, in the limit of highly excited state, for large quantum number n, okay, this numerator, this term 1 can be neglected, numerator 1 term can be neglected. So in numerator we have only 2n, in denominator we have n square into n square will be n raised to 4. So now quantum mechanical frequency becomes mu quantum is equal to, yes, R 2 R infinite into C. This n upon n raised to 4 will be n cube. compare equation 1 and 2. You can see that what was the classical frequency of revolution of electron? 2 R infinite into C upon. The classical frequency of revolution of electron about the hydrogen nucleus is 2 R infinite C upon N2. And the quantum mechanical frequency is also 2 R infinite C upon N2. With both the frequencies are same. Thus, we write the conclusion. Thus, for large quantum number n, for large quantum number n means n tends to infinite, the classical frequency for large quantum number, the classical frequency and quantum frequency become equal. So both the frequencies are same, not for small quantum number, but for higher quantum number, classical frequency and quantum frequencies become equal, provided allowed transition is delta n is equal to 1. Provided allowed transition is delta n. So what is the conclusion? That for large quantum number n, okay, in the limit of highly excited state, for large quantum number n tends to infinite, the quantum mechanical frequency, which is 2 R infinite C1 n cube, and classical frequency is also 2 R infinite C1 n cube, the quantum frequency and classical frequency becomes equal if the allowed condition is delta n is equal to 1. Okay, so we have proved that according to Bohr's correspondence principle, for small quantum number, the predictions of quantum theory do not agree with the predictions of classical theory. But for higher quantum number, in the limit of highly excited state n tends to infinite, the results of quantum theory coincides with the results of classical. Thank you. So this is the end of this thing.